Welcome, councillors. Thank you, Wendy, for attending tonight.
No problem.
Okay, so we don't have any members of the public present currently, nor online, and I still have to tell you that there's no fire drills planned tonight, so if you hear them going off, go through the doors and head over the road, and I have to read you the spiel. So, subject to Standing Order 413, a person who attends a meeting is permitted to report on the meeting whilst the meeting is open to the public. To report means to film, photograph, make an audio recording of all meetings proceedings, use other means for enabling persons not present to see or hear the meeting as it takes place or later, or to report or to provide oral or written commentary about the meeting so that the report or commentary is available as the meeting takes place or later to persons not present. Further detail is given in the Portishead Town Council Filming and Recording Policy C8 and Portishead Town Council Behaviour Policy 413. A person present at the meeting may not provide an oral report or oral commentary about a meeting as it takes place without permission. So that's that. Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have apologies from councillors Aldridge, Blackmore and Snowden.
Thank you. Right, so those.
Do we have to authorise those?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes, so those three authorised absences, we're all in favour. All in favour. Thank you. Declarations of interest, I have none to my knowledge.
And none that I'm aware of?
None I'm aware of.
Okay, to receive the chairman's reports, highways improvements update. Roger, myself, Ben and Hannah Youngs had a walk around the Vale, the village quarter, some of, and a little bit of the marina, discussing parking issues, which were flagged up initially by Ben. And he was a bit embarrassed because he felt that a number of cars had sort of suddenly disappeared from the scene. So it wasn't as congested as we were perhaps expecting, but we made note of various items in relation to that particular walkabout. Roger, do you wish to add any comments about it? It was useful.
I think it was a good walk around. We had a good chat with Hannah. She explained to us some of the things that do happen and don't happen in North Somerset, which was quite useful. We had a chat about lack of consistency on road markings, didn't we? That was
yes,
and I think that was a takeaway for Hannah, to be totally honest, to take back to the North Somerset Highways Department and check and see what policies we've got, because there's no consistency on the yellow lines around stuff like that.
Someone's had them, some of them didn't.
And some went quite a way back, some only just went round the corner. So I think she was going to take that back and find out if there's a policy, and if not, maybe to get a policy on there.
Yeah, and inevitably there were incidences, particularly one that was flagged up, where the householder had about 5 transits outside, wasn't it? Which is a permanent issue, causing knock-on effect with the neighbours. There's a number of
parking issues. There was one house we went past that's got a garage, or a double garage, I think, wasn't it? That's right on the pavement. So the bit between the pavement and the garage is about 6 inches wide, something like that. And he parked across the 2 garages, hadn't he, with his tyres on the 6-inch there, but just blocking the entire pavement. And it's these issues, isn't it, that cause the problems. And if they park out in the road, they block the road, and if they park in on the pavement, they block the pavement. So
yeah, and for me, I mean, I don't often go down to the Vale and parts of the village quarter, so it was a bit of an eye opener for me, and see some of the properties and such like, and the issues, some of which have been listed on this list of highways issues which are pending, which have been brought to the attention of the council from members of the public and ourselves. Some of which we have. I've certainly forwarded some of these to Hannah, and that's where it currently lies. I think. So we'll see how things go on that.
I'll just ask a question. What date was it that you did the walk around with Hannah?
Saturday,
And what time?
Was it a
roughly?
Saturday or a Sunday?
it was a Saturday, it was
The-
in the morning, we met at 9 o'clock.
The time was arranged, the time and the location was arranged by Ben, wasn't it?
So what day would what?
It was 10 o'clock on, 9 o'clock on March the 16th.
March 16th.
Was that about 3 weeks ago nearly now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Item 2, government planning consultation. They obviously want to an accelerated planning system, and we already have been indicated as members of the public that if Labour win the election, that they want to change things as well. So anyway, there's a government website that you can go and check this out on.
I was going to say I would suggest that that anyone interested in planning does check out the accelerated planning system, because it gives much more leeway for everything. There are things that they are proposing in that you probably would want to go through planning. I think prisons, no planning required. Just little takeaways like that. The deemed consent much wider on what you can do. And there's a big fear there that if you take so much of it out of planning and allow people to just go on and do it, then what's the point of a planning department with planning professionals down at North Somerset, which are supposed to be funded by the fees from planning? If you take it all out of planning, there aren't the fees to keep the staff there to do the job.
Do you feel the public will probably a bit wise that is coming in vain, a bit more of a
I don't think the public know anything about the fact that the government wants to change it to pretty much take most of the decision making out of the hands of local government and allow people to do pretty much what they want.
You've clearly looked, I haven't. So is this something which is likely to
This is something that came up at the LGA some months ago when I was at a meeting with them, and it's likely to be a real big problem if it comes in.
Does it have to go through the House as an amendment to the planning
Yeah,
system?
so I mean the consultation ends 1st of May. I'm not sure they've got enough time left in this Parliament to do it. So it feels like it might just die a death, or they might just progress it through quick, because they've been known to knock some stuff through quite quickly, haven't they? But it may get objections from the Lords, in which case it'll just. Yeah, I think it's important that if you're dealing with planning, you probably have a look at what the proposals are.
Yes,
because Labour, if they get, if they get in, if Labour gets in, then they may have similar proposals. I don't know.
Well, that's right. Yes, they might well do. I mean, they've been rather quiet about it, but they do want to accelerate the planning system, don't they? I thought I had a photograph of the next item. Item 3 is investigations with North Somerset Council regarding planning consents for the hedge removal on properties on new developments. This came about as a consequence of what we saw down on Marjoram Way that morning.
Yes.
The wooden fence that had been installed in place of the rather nice hedge, which was all part of the landscaping scheme for the development. So I took this up with Sharon, and she's been investigating and sending the details and photographic evidence down to North Somerset Council to see whether anything can be done, because under the covenants, it looks like they have removed that hedge and moved their curtilage out to put this fence line in. There was a photograph kicking around of it, which I'm afraid I don't have a copy of, but it's pretty ugly, and we will be discussing this in relation to one of the planning applications coming up. Yeah, I really don't have it now, unfortunately. Okay, so that's being investigated. Application 1984 on the Marina, boat folk. Roger, you're going to be dealing with this one because you probably have more of an update than I do. I know that you were looking at splitting applications between the two. The pontoon is obviously the controversial one, and the removal and changing position of the sales office wasn't. We all felt that was an appropriate move, and there was no issues with that.
After initially speaking to the residents around there, as we had a number of meetings and representations from the residents, I let it be known to the planning department of North Somerset that I wanted it called in before committee, if they were considering proceeding with it. I then got a message from them about a week ago.
From BOPO?
No, from the planning department, to say that that boat folk were going to pull the pontoons and just proceed with the removal of the brokerage office.
Okay.
And if that was the case, did I still want to call it in?
Okay.
So I said to them, if that's the case, nobody really objected to the moving of the brokerage office. If the pontoons weren't on the application, then there would be no need for me to call it in.
Yeah.
But I know that it's still live, no decision made, and there's no supplementary application to alter it.
Is it still going through the procedures with the MMR?
So I think the extended consultation's finished now, isn't it?
Yeah.
On that one anyway. So maybe they're just in negotiations over what can and can't be done. But it's clearly it's not proceeded at the moment. It's not altered at the moment, and we missed the time to call it in anyway. So if they'll either change the plan to take those pontoons out, or it'll have to come back up for the next committee meeting for that. So I made it very clear that if those pontoons were in the application, then it was to be before committee, no two ways about it. But it sounds like maybe they're trying to find a compromise.
Yeah, because it was the gate issue as well, wasn't it? That was causing consternation with some residents.
Maybe they wanted the brokerage office more than the pontoon, and therefore they'll proceed with that, and they'll come back and revisit the pontoons later on. Who knows? We can only guess at this stage. But I did check before I came out in case there was anything updated on there, but nothing's updated, so clearly they're still talking about it.
Yeah, and as we learned, so Community Matters, the sea shanty at the end of May, wasn't it? I mean, it'd be interesting to see how many boats come in from Bristol and elsewhere, and how congested it gets down there, and whether this pontoon would have been an ideal place to have parked up a dozen or 20 of them.
That's a good point.
I did note that there's now a police report on there, which wasn't there last time I looked at it, which raises concerns about how close it is to the edge, and the potential for antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
Plus some very interesting statistics about crime figures in that area as well. They're all in that report.
Would you like to know about the crime figures?
No, I read the report earlier. But,
Okay.
But yeah, so maybe it was because of the police report they've decided to think again. Who knows?
Yeah. And then there's the coroner's report as well. That's sort of kicking around.
Well, the date's up for that, but I haven't heard what's going on that. But that will work its way through.
Sounds like someone's coming in.
I think that's for
Someone there's something down.
Yeah, the door's open.
Okay, item 4.5, West Hill Traffic Regulation Order. This is in relation to the congested chicane on West Hill, where the X4 quite often gets stuck, or at least has difficulty passing through, as illustrated here. So the proposal is to extend the double yellows down a certain way down West Hill to remove this bottleneck between the wall and the parked cars. So I think they're planning to extend it by a couple of bays, but with the possibility of moving it even further to take in another section down there opposite Stone. So I'm pretty familiar with this. I don't think it goes far enough. I prefer to see the white double yellows going all the way up to Springfield Road on that long stretch. where you don't often get cars parked fully in the road, but you quite frequently get them parked half on and half off. And there have been times when I've not been able to walk down that footway at all because cars have been tight to the wall, which makes me very angry. So whether we can get this amended in some ways, I will ask. But that's what they're planning to do in due course. And they also want to move the bus stop, extend the markings on the bus stop bay, which I don't feel is really necessary because there's hardly a space here anyway at the lower end to park a car. It fouls up with the entrance to the house here. And very infrequently do you find passengers getting on or off at that particular stop. And if the bus stop's in the middle of the road, which is what is obviously happening, then so be it. It doesn't really matter. It's only going to be there for a moment or two.
So the current policy is not to have bus stops, isn't it? To have them stop and block the road and have all the traffic wait. So yeah, that's not out of the way. West Hill is a real problem. I mean, if you were designing a bus service from scratch, you wouldn't normally want to set it up West Hill, would you?
Well, no,
But
as we know,
there
are reasons why.
It is what it is. I mean, and it's I was thinking about it the other day, and it's the only real route that they can do that properly, isn't it? To link everything up.
To get them facing the right way round on Coombe Road, yes.
Yeah. So there's not many other ways of doing that. And therefore freeing up the traffic, so getting extra double yellow lines in where you can, certainly where the pinch points are, seems to be the best way forward.
It's a logical move, but yes, it will cause inconvenience to residents of Stony Steep, many of whom don't have access to get a car down to their houses.
But maybe we can, if this is under the BSIP stuff, isn't it? So maybe we can write a letter to Hannah and tell her that we'd like to see the WLs extended.
Well, I put it on the list. It's on the list which she would have received from me recently.
Yeah. It might be an idea just to write that one separately.
Yeah.
BSIP, but
as part of this.
On the list, she may not have picked up that that's actually BSIP and not highways.
Yeah,
because it's a different team that deal with it down there.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I think if we can do something there to improve the throughput for the bus and for traffic that use it, I think it makes sense.
15 metres actually, it's quite, so they want to extend it by 15 metres. So how long is the average car? That's
4, isn't it?
Four, yeah.
So it's getting on to 3 car spaces. No, I beg your pardon. No, that's a 15-metre bus stop. Anyway, right, we move on. I'll send something down to them as part of that. So we don't have any public participation.
No one online?
No, nobody online.
Okay.
So we look at the minutes for the last meeting. Yes, you will remember them. And are you happy that we accept these as a true reflection of that particular meeting?
I'm pleased to see that I was there.
You were there.
Yeah, well, we had a couple of meetings where I was missed off on it, so it's nice. It's nice to see that I was actually remembered.
I'll propose them. Thank you. One of you seconds.
Thank you.
Take next.
Thank you.
I just need to put a signature on the bottom sheet. Right, so we're into the planning applications then, and the agenda, and we'll start with the 13 Cheviot Meadow 0275. So this is this modular pod going in the back garden of a fairly small garden. And do we want to discuss it? I have written a few notes. It's a household prior approval, so I'm not sure we can still make comments, I guess. Single story rear extension, 4.45 meters length and 3.1 meters in height. And it almost looks as though the whole thing sort of dropped in over the roof. But anyway, it's self-contained. It's got a little.
Isn't it a prefabricated?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Yeah. hence the comment about dropping it over.
Yeah,
but-
it looks like they've taken out the window. They got a window and
Yeah,
a
yeah,
door
yeah.
in those. It looks like they've taken out the window, turned that into a doorway through into that, and it looks to be a bedroom and shower room WC.
It is.
It seems that there'll be some plumbing required because the toilet's on the other side of the house. But I know those houses. I don't live too far away. I can nearly see that one from my back garden.
Do you have an opinion in relation to why they're doing it? Do we consider this as possibility of going down the route of an HMO or something like that?
And it look. I mean, I no, I've got no idea why, but it looks like an extra bedroom for a disabled person. Is what it looks like. Yeah. From the garden perspective, it's actually one of the large gardens around there, and people on it'll be the other side, which is Jacob's Meadow, which back onto that. Yeah.
Is that it
Yeah,
there?
people on Jacob's Meadow have had fairly substantial. Some of them have fairly substantial garden rooms put in as well,
Yeah.
which are of course closer to the fence than this one. So
Oh, I see. Yeah.
personally, I don't see any real issues with it. There are some gardens around now where you'd say, oh, you know, that would fill up almost the entire garden. But as you go further along there, the gardens get a bit bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any objections to it,
Mhm.
and I don't really see, as it's a ground floor one, the door being opposite the neighbour's windows being an issue because there's a garden fence.
Mhm.
And they both houses back onto each other, so the upstairs windows are also facing
Yeah.
there. So you know, I'm not sure why the objections are what they are, but equally I'm not sure we can object to it anyway because of the fact it's like a prefab drop-in module. It's a garden room with plumbing.
Okay, well, we're fairly neutral on it. I don't have a big particular opinion, but if we just want to comment, then
I did question whether or
no
not
objections.
it was a change from a 2-bed to a 3-bed,
Mm.
which could have given you cause for complaint. But my understanding is they're 3 beds.
Right.
I think, as you said, it's great and it's great. Isn't it? Okay, so we'll move on. 0394 10 Fitzroy Circus, which is the one that ties in with.
Did we actually vote? Sorry, I'll check that.
Well, I'm not sure we can really. I mean,
So what would you like to do?
I think the feeling
Abstain
is-
from it or?
well, we can still make a comment that. Do we have an objection to it particularly? Robert,
I don't have an objection to it, no.
No, I don't have an objection. I'm not sure there's
Yeah.
a comment I want to make. Is there a comment you'd like to make, Bob?
No, I don't wish to
all right,
make a
we'll
comment.
just put it down as we're very neutral and no
Yeah.
objection.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably the better statement, is that we're neutral to it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's fine.
So 0394, which is the establishment of the fence on the boundary, which has currently got the metal railings. The comments have now gone up to 14, but I think the majority of those are in favour. And I'm not really sure why. Yes, but again, this falls under the covenant situation where they shouldn't be removing the iron fencing because it's all part of the concept of the scheme, particularly around the Fitzroy Circus. And the fact that they want to put up this 6-foot wooden fencing and enclosed land, which has to be said, Ben thought that it was then going to incur the removal of the wall and extend their curtilage out because it looks like it's a bit of no man's land, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They had a couple of bins on it. And it's a little bit sort of who does it belong to? They talk about litter blowing around and accumulating there, but when we went there was nothing apart from the 2 wheelie bins.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that's a very strong argument, but I think under the covenant situation, it shouldn't be done. And I quote, not to remove, decorate, embellish, or otherwise change the appearance of or interfere with any planting boxes or beds, stonework, railings, parapets, columns, statues, or other landscaping. And I think that in itself gives us a reason for saying we object to it.
Yeah.
Well, I equally, when we were around there, we had a look at it, didn't we?
Yeah.
The other weekend. But I've had another look at it to see, you know, whether or not. And the first question is whether or not that's actually their land or not, because there's a wall the other side of it. So it could be, because I know some areas around by me, there's a fence and then there's another wall and there's some planting inside, but that's like public space, not their garden. So there was that question whether or not it's their land anyway. I had a look back on Google Maps and found a picture from 2008, which shows it exactly as it is now, except for there's two things planted in it, two small shrubs planted in it, and
with the gravel there.
and no bins. So it's still gravel, but
Still
just
gravel.
two shrubs there. But my bigger concern was that they're putting up solid wooden fencing 6 foot tall. This part of, is it Shannon Walk that runs onto Fitzroy Circus? So I think you go down Shannon Walk, and this is the bit that goes into Fitzroy Circus, and it's really, really narrow. And then it's blocked on that side, and they're going to block it on this side as well. And I think they left it like that for the view, so that the cars coming round could see it.
Yeah.
So there's a potential highways issue
Okay.
on that one, just making it more difficult to navigate and more closed in.
Well, we'll add that to the comment.
And I think it looks much better open. So there's a reason they put the covenant on to say that these things should stay.
Precisely.
So yeah, I think I'd flag highways, but equally the covenant should cover it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. And maybe they should consider replanting some shrubs there, if that's what was happening before. Clearly, there's soil underneath them.
Yeah.
And
Or maybe the shrubs died. Who knows? Maybe there's not that much.
So we can place it.
right, fine, thank you. Okay, 04469 Riverleys, proposed erection of single-story rear extension with glazed external canopy over existing rear doors and 2.2 meter privacy screen. One public comment online, which is supporting this application. This proposal looks very good. As next door neighbours, we would have no objection to it. I came to the same conclusion. I didn't see any particular reason for objecting to this particular one.
No
Any
objections?
comments? No
No,
objections.
okay.
I was to see.
We support the proposal.
Yeah.
Bob proposed. I'll second it.
I was to say we didn't vote on Fitzroy Circus, did we?
No, you didn't.
We better do that one as well.
All right. Suppose
You're right.
all in favour. of the
Thank
objection?
you.
Yes.
There we go.
Right, 0474, Portishead branch line, surface water and whatnot, no objection. Any comments we want to make on this particular
Was it
one?
branch line? I made a note, yeah. Just the obvious, the one that I've said before. I think we should just put a note in to say that we like the plan, but we'd really like to see a disabled toilet on the platform.
Oh, well, this one isn't specifically about platforms, is it?
I
About
know, but
station
it's-
design?
But it's got station design in it, hasn't it? Because it's the discharge of condition that they have to design the station to show the water runoff. So
Okay, well, fair point. I mean,
I think we should. I think at every opportunity we should.
Yeah.
We should just keep
Yeah.
saying,
Yes.
no, that's a bare minimum. We should have a disabled toilet in the station. We probably won't get one, but I think we should keep saying.
Yeah.
yes.
And I keep getting emails from disabled people telling me that that they really think there should be one there. So
Right, moving on to 0378, the Acorns, Esplanade Road. Right, okay, I don't object to this particular one, nor does Martin for. as you can see, there is uncertainty from the public comments in relation to the height of the wall and the height of the garage. I can read you out some of these comments, which I agree with it actually. And it's in relation to, as I've said, the garage wall, the proposed double garage, which is behind the wall. I have no issues with the extensions to the rear of the property. The proposal to demolish the existing garage workshop and modify the gradient of the drive makes good sense. My uncertainty is the extent to which the proposed garage will exceed the height of the stone front boundary wall. It may be that it won't exceed it at all, but the plans don't help much on this. I'm assuming that the garage will be built from the existing ground level of the hard surface parking area. The plans would have needed to make it clear if a change in the ground level of the construction site was proposed. The adoption of a flat roof for the new garage is appreciated, as that will help to keep height down. I have no objection at all if the finished height of the proposed garage will not exceed the height of the stone front boundary wall. I think the proposal would start to have a seriously adverse effect on the street scene and local amenity, etc. If the top of the garage was more than 1 metre higher than the horizontal line from the top of the existing stone wall. So, which they don't show on the plans. And this is the comment made by the local neighbours, I assume, doesn't obviously say. A simple cross-section showing the heights would be a big help. If the height of the finished garage does not exceed the height of the horizontal line from the top of the front stone boundary wall, please convert these observations from object to neutral. Well, you can't really argue against that.
I think we should just say no objection, subject to neighbours' concerns about the height of the garage being dealt with.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
because I've
Yep.
had a look at the plans. It's just not on there. You just can't tell exactly how high that is from the plan, unfortunately.
Right.
So maybe all it would take is for somebody to drop a plan with a height reference on it, and the problems could all disappear.
Yes, yes. Right. I've described something along those lines when you think about. Okay. So we'll vote on that one. Yes, Roger proposed to approve that. 0393 100 Merlin Park. So this is LDP, Certificate of Lawful Development for the proposed erection of a single-storey rear extension. What about any comments in relation to this? Yeah, I've got no objections, subject to no objections from the neighbours. Really, they're happy about that.
Yeah, look, obviously the neighbours to the rear of them have got a large tree. To the left of them, they have a high bush line.
I don't think there's anything online in relation to comments from the
No,
public.
so yeah.
So no objection.
Yeah, no objection.
Well, no objection.
Okay.
Moving on, 0441 full application 66 High Street. This is Greg's.
It's a
Don't
bit
need,
late.
yes, we don't need to discuss this. It's already been done. So not even retrospective planning.
I did actually say to them when they were putting it out, I said we haven't even agreed on this yet, and you're obviously doing it. But I mean, it brightens up the street. It's great to see Greg's, because it's one of the companies who are actually putting money back into their buildings, which a lot of them don't now. They let them fall apart, and I think it's really good to see Greg's actually improving it.
Bob, I don't know whether or not you should declare an interest, because
Well,
I saw you drinking.
I know.
coffee now.
Well, you can't go wrong with a cup of coffee and a sausage roll that's the price of a coffee everywhere else. But to be honest, a marvelous team down there. The place looks really nice, spanking new. The signage is ideal for the town. So yeah.
And what do they say when you mention this to them? Do they laugh?
No, they didn't. That's what I said. It was just.
Staff probably don't even know.
My big thing is.
Did you get a free copy and then
No. But my big thing is seeing shops that are struggling, and especially companies like Costa and that. When you look at Costa and you just think, you had 2 coffee shops opening opposite you, and you didn't revamp your your shop, and then you've got Greggs that have spent the money and revamped it and kept it going, which is great to see. Because at the end of the day, we don't want a high street full of shops that are falling apart.
I looked at the planning application, even though I've seen the completed article already. But from the planning application, I would have had no objections anyway.
No, mate.
So yeah, I think it's, and with retrospective like that, where they've already done it, you're supposed to ignore the fact they've already done it and take it as it was, as though they haven't done it. So yeah, it's one of the madnesses, isn't it? But yeah, I've got no objection to that. I think it looks better.
Yeah,
actually.
I totally agree with that.
So no objections from us, Wendy. Good. 0497 254 Down Road. So this is a variation of condition 5, the tree protection plan for works within the front area of the house. And one of the comments online is in respect to.
So which one are we on?
254 Down Road, 0497.
Oh, right.
Next one on the list. I won't read out the full application details because we've already dealt with those and it's all gone through. But online there is neighbour's comment from St Augustine's Close, which I can't disagree with. So I will read it to you. We've not really read it yourself because we're not objecting to the proposals. The response from the resident reads as follows. Whilst the residents of St Augustine's Close have no objection in principle to the proposed development, noting it has been approved under planning application 1358, they do have concerns regarding the possible site access to the rear of the proposed site via a private driveway access from St Augustine's Close. To close off this possibility, therefore, as a condition for granting planning consent to the variation of condition 5, the tree protection plan, which is one we're discussing now, on which the development proposal depends, if it is to go ahead as planned, residents would ask for a strengthening of the wording of the site construction management and tree protection plan by adding a sentence to the existing wording that, quote unquote, on no account is access for construction activity, including materials, storage, or the mixing of cement or other materials, including their disposal, or the disposal of soil or rubble from the site to be made via the private driveway access from St Augustine's Close. That any breach of this condition will result in an enforcement action being taken, including the issue of a stop notice, should that be required. Now, I don't know whether if you got it on your screen now, because it's a very tight access between two properties where they have rear gates to their rear garden. And clearly the residents of St Augustine's Close are concerned that lorries are going to be accessing the gates.
That was the concern with the original planning,
was.
because I remember going through that with all the residents as well,
Yes.
and going round and looking to see quite how tight it was to get round there. Yeah, and although I don't think you'll ever get a condition that says, and if you breach this, we will definitely enforce. I think if we were to cut that part out, which they won't agree to, and the rest of it sounded fine.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll. Thank you. Well, yeah. Because I remember going around there when we had the previous application. Yeah. It's just circumstantial, isn't it? That the space between the two properties is tight.
Yes.
It's right on there.
So, are any of the trees coming down on this?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think so. Not specifically, but it's all fenced off and things. So, shall we word it in the same manner as we did on the previous one? That we have no objections subject to the neighbour's comment or the online comment.
Yeah, I think unless
and let the planning officer deal with the wording on the last sentence. Then
yeah, I mean that would make sense.
Okay, propose it then. I'll propose it. Seconded by Bob. Back to Merlin Park, 040498. 159 Merlin Park, proposed demolition of the existing conservatory and erection of single-storey brick extensions. It's just to replace their conservatory, I have no objection, ditto from Martin, Emma,
No objection.
yourself, so proposer for that. Bob seconded. Thank you. The Spinney, number 5, bear in mind we have another one from the Spinney coming up, so getting 2 from the Spinney as well. 0505, non-material amendment to application, which we dealt with the previous planning application where we had no objections to it. Again, Martin, Emma have no objections to this. Any comments from you? No objections. Thank you.
Zero vote on it.
Yes. Proposer, yes.
By the way, this.
Yeah, I'll just keep putting it down. Don't worry.
Two of us, so.
0519, 3 West Hill Gardens, certificate of lawful LTD again, a lot of development for a proposed dormer lot conversion. A lot of them have already done this.
Yeah.
With a small Juliet balcony. So I don't have any objection to it. It's already happened. So proposer Roger, seconded by Bob. Yes. No material amendment to 0528 to Hillside Road. Proposed erection of a 2-story re-extension, contemporary 2-story front. Oh yes, but this one's kind of a bit more complicated because we've also dealt with this too.
I had a question on this one because I think a few people had put an objection down.
Yes.
Or potential objection down. And the note I made was I'm not sure how the privacy screen that they've already put in, I think, and now because it's already there, lots of things, differs from the one that was specified apart from in the material. It looks to be, I mean, it's a wood privacy screen made out of fencing, as opposed to, I don't know what was in the plan actually, because it just looked like
Obscure glass, I think.
Well, the obscure glass was for the window, wasn't it? Or the doorway, I think.
Weren't they planning to use it?
But it was, yeah, it was maybe a glass one instead or something like that, or obscure glass one. But I really don't see how it makes any substantial difference, whether it's made out of obscured glass or made out of wood. And that's why I thought I'm going to have a question on this one, because I'm not sure.
I think it's the aesthetics of it in terms that they feel it looks a bit like pallet wood and it's ugly.
There was a
I mean, there's a huge spiel about it.
there was a letter from I guess from the contractor or the designer, basically saying that it's in keeping with the other parts around there, including the fencing that's in use. So I didn't see any real reason to object just on the fact that it's made of fencing rather than made of something else.
Well,
Because part of the balcony stuff they're going to.
it is, yeah, timber balustrade
well,
balcony, which replaced existing steel barred balustrade. And so the side section, the timber panel privacy screen installed to the side of the existing balcony. Note the balcony is existing and previously had no privacy screen. That's a timber privacy screen is an improvement for the neighbouring property. Okay. Well, as you can read, it's a huge spiel, as I said, about objecting.
There's a letter on that from the I think it's from the contractor or designer, answering all those questions as well. So everything that was raised in the objection has been answered in the attached letter as well. So I didn't see any reason to object, but that's just.
I mean, comment from the neighbour, yes, the wooden panel was erected hastily a few weeks ago because the house has been put up for sale. When I queried this, the same owner texted me, we will not be changing the privacy screen on the balustrading from timber to glass. There simply isn't any money for us to afford it.
It's interesting that the neighbour makes reference to the original planning conditions, in that it had to be glass so that they could actually see through it to maintain the view, which is interesting.
But how would you maintain a view through obscured glass?
It's not, I don't think it was obscured glass, not from reading this. Am I interpreting that right?
Then it looks to me like that's the view of whoever sat on the balcony then, because the house protrudes.
I'm just galloping through it again.
There's, this one's got, I think this one's got the 3D plans on, hasn't it? Was that the one that, there was one of them I was looking at, some really nice 3D plans on which sort of made it all a bit more obvious. Maybe it was the original planning permission for this one. So I went back and looked at the original planning permission to try and work out what the difference in look was between the two.
I mean, it's got two balconies, isn't it? Top and bottom. Timber balustrading to both of them. So it's just on this side section, isn't it, which goes up higher and gives the privacy. I can't see that it's going to interfere with people's view. But then I'm not a neighbour living there. See neighbours' comments. So Roger, are you proposing no objection?
Yeah, I can propose that, no problem.
Any second for that one?
Yeah, I've not got a problem with that.
I don't. Okay. So yeah, we're voting in favour of that. Right. 0521 Dormers Woodlands Roads. Proposed removal of the existing chimney on the north elevation. There are no objections from us. Martin and Emma as well. I have been round to speak to the neighbour. The house, which is a 1930s arts and crafts house, has already been butchered by the current owners. I shouldn't say that online, but they've changed all the fenestration. They've already removed one or two chimneys. They've removed internal fireplaces, and so this is really different to what they've already done. So
I had a look because it's in a conservation area to see whether or not we should be doing anything because it's in a conservation area. So would taking the chimney down substantially change the look and feel of the neighbourhood is the sort of question that we need to ask ourselves on that one. If it's already had a lot of changes to it anyway, then we wouldn't, if we were to object, we wouldn't be protecting anything that was left worthy of protection, it sounds like.
Well, you're right, Roger, and that you expressed that well. I mean, the best view of the chimney is from coming up Esplanade Road.
I mean, obviously, all the work. This was taken 2 years ago, so you can see the work that's already been involved in it. And the chimney. So,
I was say, I can't see the chimney on it, can I, Bob?
yeah.
It's on the east side.
Oh yeah, no, of course that's an overhead picture, isn't it? The one on the side is quite a big chimney, but it looks really small on that one.
Well, it's a big chimney. I mean, the next door neighbours don't have an objection to it, and as I said, the house has already been substantially changed. Sadly.
So the original, so it's what's on the screen there. So
Yeah, that's the
that's the original.
that's as it sort of looks at the moment, isn't it? And it's I think it's
not here.
You can see it's going to trigger. It's got a large chimney stack at one end to come off. But it's not a listed building, but it is in a conservation area.
Yeah.
So as long as we've considered the facts in the conservation area and decided that it's not worth saving the chimney, then I think.
But I think it might be nice to put a footnote that the committee felt that within a conservation area, it was sad to see the loss of some of the original features of this property. Just to rub it in a bit.
I can second that one, yeah.
Okay, 0536 19 Hillside Road. Proposed erection of a single-storey extension to the front elevation. Quite a lot of works going on here. I didn't have an objection to it. 19 Hillside. Setback, it's set back up a steep drive.
Yeah.
It's replacing a single garage at the base with a double model in the house, largely the same profile. It's got this rather, in my opinion, rather odd looking rock panel metal cladding. That's what I thought looked a bit odd on the photographic, because that's got photos of attached.
It had like a
On the elevation.
3D
Yes.
rendering of it, didn't it? Because when I looked at the plan, I thought, oh, I don't like the look of that at all. On the 3D rendering, it's like, oh no, I do actually like that.
I thought it looked rather odd. Yeah, no, it's sort of set back. It's not really going to be affecting the streets and anything, so. No objection from me.
No
Not
objection
for me.
from me. Whoever.
The next one is 0543, 6 Northfield Road, certificate of lawful development, proposed erection of a rear facing flat roof dormer to create a bedroom in the roof space. Notice this is a LDP as well. I have no objections, it's hardly visible, and people are doing this all the time.
Yeah, they have.
Putting in
Right,
doors
right
and knobs.
down.
It stretches right across the roof.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 4 houses down.
Mhm. So-
Sorry, the fourth house down, the fifth house down.
No objection?
No, I think Emma had raised a comment on it, hadn't she, about the size, but that looks to have been answered. So yeah, no, I have no.
The size of the one down the road.
Fairly standard size.
Yeah,
I'm not a lover of dormers, so
I think
anyway,
she's raised the question whether I should have been a full rather than
We got
an
yes.
LDP. But
yes,
yeah, no, I think it's
She might
exactly
well
as it
be
should
right.
be. Yeah.
but which Sharon and I talked about it and got details as to the classification of these matters, but we don't know what the volume of the existing house is. So it's not very easy to answer the question as well itself, whether it's full or LDP.
Well, if it goes over the threshold, then I guess the North Somerset officers will pick that up anyway.
Indeed.
So yeah,
Yeah.
as it's their job.
Indeed. That's good. All right, thanks. So moving on then,
Courthouse Farm.
well, yes, it's listed as 0576 trees, but they're not actually in Courthouse Farm, and it is within the conservation area. As you know, it is in fact trees in the curtilage of the church. It's the church trees on the way up to the entrance, which they just want to pull off the growth of the last 5 years or so. And a couple of dead ones around the perimeter on Slade Road,
on Slade Road,
Church
yeah.
Road South.
Yeah.
So nothing to do with Court Farm, so I went to Court Farm and spoke to Helen and Nick. So yeah, no objection.
My only issue on that was that it is a conservation area, and should we be asking for I mean, it's 2 dead elms, I think, that are coming down. Should they be replaced? So,
That's a good-
in the conservation area.
Yeah, that's a very good
Do we
point.
do
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have
that's
the
a
right
good
to
point.
ask it? Should we ask it anyway?
Yes, we should. Yeah.
And see if
Sure.
North Somerset can.
So that's specifically Wendy is G1, G2,
Right.
whether these
Thank you.
two can be replaced.
G2, thank you.
I don't think they don't plant elms any longer,
No.
do they, because
No.
of the
A bit
disease.
opium there.
But maybe they could be replaced with something similar.
Then 0591 49 Rock End, certificate of LDP again. An erection,
What is LGP?
a certificate of lawful development. So it's you don't have to go through the full planning process, and it's
Yeah.
within the
Yeah.
percentage
Yeah.
volume of the house and so on.
You can put on a small extension
Yeah.
without
Without
the need for planning permission. But when you come to sell the house, they'll say, "Where's the planning permission?" And you say, "I didn't get it because I didn't need it," and they'll say, "Where's the proof you didn't need it?" So you apply for a certificate, and you can show that you did everything correctly.
Indeed. So this one is for the erection of new garden boundary walls and fencing. Yeah, I looked at this and I thought, are they taking a curtilage line again with fencing on what is slightly sort of open space?
and they've got a public walkway.
alongside.
It's
it.
right, it's
Alongside it.
right up against the walkway,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's- and obviously they got the play area just down from that. So is that a potential why they?
They are, and anything where you've got a long fence next to a public walkway is a potential issue.
Yeah,
And it looks like they're taking the posts out and they're putting concrete ones in.
yeah, I can,
hold
I
the
can,
fences
probably-
up.
I can understand why.
And I can understand why
Yeah.
as well. I think
Mhm.
that I have no objection to it because I think, you know what, that's probably the sensible thing
Yeah,
to do. in
if
those
that was my
circumstances.
house, I would probably do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So no objection again from this.
Thank you.
Choose a proposal, second. Then we have the two late ones coming in, 0587 back into the Spinney, number 3. The demolition of the existing conservatory in the proposed erection of a single-storey rear side extension. So it's just replacing one with the other really, and giving it more substance and more permanence. I have no objection to it.
So that was a demolition of conservatory and replacement with it was a wraparound extension, wasn't it? But in a different place. But it's right up against the tree line anyway.
Yeah,
So I had a look, but none of the other houses can see where it's going to go anyway. So, it's the tree line which is by the school, isn't it? So no one's going to see any of it. So it looks fine.
Yeah.
I have no
Okay.
objection.
So that goes through then from us. Lastly then, 0613 25 Coombe Avenue. This is the demolition of an existing attached garage and shed with subsequent erection of a 2-storey side extension, including new internal garage. This is quite big. Again, precedent has already been set up and down Coombe Avenue.
The
And
house is quite small, I think, isn't it?
it is relatively small, you're quite right, and this is going to be quite a large.
It's
bedrooms,
it's almost doubling the size of the house. But my concern was that it looks like a 2-bed house.
It does.
And that means that we'd be going against our policy if we were to approve it of allowing a 2-bed to be extended to a 4. So I guess if we stick with our
No, we need to
our
stick.
neighbourhood plan, which we should be raising that in our comments.
Yeah, I quite agree. I mean, I raised this before, but what was their plan?
But-
I always do this.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Sorry, I was. I agree. I did this well before the put their plan.
And then
Mentioned it on several occasions.
the neighbourhood plan is one of the things that goes into the balance to determine these things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't, just because we say the neighbourhood plan says that that shouldn't happen, it doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means that goes into the mix with the other stuff. But if we've agreed on, or if the residents fully said have agreed that that's the policy, which is what the neighbourhood plan is, and
Yeah.
they did a referendum on it, that that's the policy, then we should try and stick to the policy.
There's very few in town. And
To
that's-
more than 2-bed houses, which is what the plan's trying to protect.
Yeah.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but of course, inevitably, if they've been there a long time, which clearly they have, and they want to extend and make their house a little larger, which a lot of people are doing, rather than just sell up and move on, then you can't really blame them.
It's a really harsh policy, because everyone's been allowed to do it for years and years and years, and then suddenly saying we have to stop it now is a really difficult thing to do. And if it was my house, I would be absolutely up in arms, saying, "What do you mean? This is my house. Why can't I extend it?"
Mhm.
But we did do a neighbourhood plan which went through a referendum and was voted in by the residents.
Well, there's pros and cons with it, isn't it? Obviously, if there's only 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom houses available, their value will go up because the demand will go up for those houses. So, it contradicts itself, doesn't it? But, I've sat in the council on planning for 5 years, and I've watched planning after planning of changing 3 and 2-bedroom houses to bigger houses. And yeah, I mentioned on several occasions why we're constantly agreeing on it, and they're dwindling away. And obviously, it's part of what was their plan. So
Okay.
it's just my personal opinion. I think I think we should be protecting them now.
Okay,
This is
Because they're so
a
few of
new application, isn't it?
yes,
Mm.
it's
So-
due on Monday.
So we could ask for it to be deferred and then we could consider it next time round, of course.
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah, I'll subject as well. Or we can, well, it depends if there might be
Yeah,
more
I-
people here who
Well,
are, for it, and it might change.
I had two votes, don't I? So I could rule you both.
You could, yeah.
But I'll go along with your suggestion, Roger, and we'll defer it until the next plan meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
Right. So the consultations, agenda item 9. And we're going to briefly look at this disabled parking bay application at 23 Brenton Road, which Sharon and I visited. I'm subsequently being back. I know Emma's being back. There's the plan, sort of. So it's in this little hammerhead here, and the applicant is living in the house here. And they have rear access where they have a garage, which clearly they're not using. And at the moment, there is also a disabled bay here. So there's currently one there, and there are 2 others as marked on the plan, both of which are now unused because one of the original applicants has died and the other one's moved away. So and there are objections coming from various neighbours around. Yeah, so it's a no-no really.
If there's already disused ones there, then
Yeah.
why do they need another one? Why
Yeah.
can't they use one of the disused
Well,
ones?
especially the one here, which
We-
I went round today, yesterday to look after we examined the Hillside Road. And they were dealing, the Western Power were dealing with a pole here. And they'd driven onto the grass and they couldn't get off, they were stuck. It's a bit of a pickle.
I was gonna say, we don't have a policy on these, do we?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, I wonder if that's something to look at, whether or not we should have a policy on how we deal with this type of application. So a policy that says, you know, if someone's applying for a disabled space, but there's already unused disabled spaces in the road, then we should say no to it. And you know, where we just lay out a number of things as to how we would normally deal with it.
Yeah.
Because it just feels a bit ad hoc, and we might say no to this one and yes to somebody else, and it may look as if we're just making it up as we go along.
Well, with 3 in the vicinity, you would have thought that they dealt with one of those,
Yeah,
or use their rear access. We're not really sure as to why they're not doing so.
but it's not an application through planning, is it? Because I couldn't find anything on the planning portal.
Consultation, yeah.
It's a traffic thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's been kicking around for 2 or
Has,
3 months.
Yeah.
I think. Bob, you're.
Yeah, can I just say something? We, on Underwood Road where I live, I have a disabled parking bay on the house next door to us. Sadly, the 2 ladies that live next door to us no longer have a car. However, that disabled parking bay is now used by another disabled person that's 5 doors up on the opposite side of the road. So, you know, I agree. If obviously if it's within reasonable distance of the house, then
And once they've been allocated, even if they're outside someone's property, it doesn't give them the right to always
No.
use it. It's open to anyone.
I mean most streets in Porter's Edge you will struggle to park right outside your house if you haven't got your own driveway. So you're likely to be 4 or 5 cars down. One day you might only be 2 cars down from your house. One day
Yeah.
you might actually be able to park outside your house one day.
Yeah.
But obviously there is a certain amount of movement each day that you come home from work, or you come home from the pub, or a local party or whatever. So you're never going to always get outside your house.
Anyway, I think those are the comments which we going
Sure.
to make on this particular. Were you happy about that? Just leave it as
Just-
your
just-
particular comments, but yeah,
Well, I
we
think,
can flag up that we would.
I think,
have
I think maybe we should,
specific policy.
maybe as a planning committee, we should look to see whether or not we want to develop a policy on that.
Yeah,
But as far as that one goes, it looks like they're well served with disabled bays. So I'd be happy to say that we object to that on the grounds that they're already usable bays within easy reach of the property.
Any question as to why they're not using their own rear access?
Just their own rear access, it could be that there are steps going into the house from the rear access. Have you asked that question?
No, we haven't. I've not spoken to the applicants themselves.
Maybe if we had a policy, we could have a list of questions that they could
Yeah.
also answer as part of that, so
Yeah.
that we knew why they were asking for it.
Because normally with the application form, one of us will go around and sort of tick off a few things, but yeah, I'm not sure about that particular in this instance. But yes, thank you, Roger, for those suggestions. We'll come up with something.
Could stick it in the agenda at some stage, I
Okay.
guess, and we'll have a look at it.
yeah, it's a good one.
Hmm.
We should be monitoring a lot better.
Okay, agenda item 9.2, North Somerset Council's parking management strategy and action plan. As you know, consultation documents out there, which some of us will have done, some haven't. I understand now there's going to be a private one downstairs at some point prior to the public.
Did somebody
Well,
book something? Maybe they
Yes,
didn't invite me.
or I understand Bobble's booked on for the 16th.
Yes, I think that's right.
Yes, which is 2 days before the North Somerset Council.
Yeah, not
turn up, yeah.
the 18th. I went, as I said, I went to an engagement in Weston today, which wasn't very well attended. But then we're not really proposing any new parking charges for them, are we? So they were more worried about the waste, I think. But the officers down there told me that the one at the Somerset Hall's fully booked,
Okay, good.
and they were considering whether or not they needed to do another one in Portishead.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be a drop-in, where you drop in and you chat, you ask questions and stuff like that. But if you get too many people there, there's not going to be enough people to answer the questions. And then do they have to switch it to a more formal meeting instead of the drop-in, which wasn't what it was designed for? So I think they've got a way to think about it.
Which will require a sort of a panel and chair person, won't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
So how do you get that one sorted out?
Yeah, well, I mean, what we've done before, ad hoc. Hopefully, a few exec members will turn up and somebody will agree to do it. And there'll be a couple of
Right,
slides
down
that
the
they can show somewhere.
right down the street behind the car.
Look at that. Right.
I'm hoping Mike Bell will turn up and just point to Mike. It's you.
And a little posse of councillors here is sort of going to be discussing things with you, and because you're sort of driving this.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
aren't
that's
you?
fine, yeah.
So David, myself, and Janet have agreed to join you. Working party. Right. Ditto recycling waste strategy, which is all online as well, so we all know about that. They both close on the 7th of May.
The current update as it stands, I think,
Mhm.
very rough figures, is that we've had about 8,000 responses on the waste and about 4,000 on the parking.
You said that the other day. That was like 3 days ago. Has it not gone up much?
No, not much. No, I think there was a big flurry at the start, to be
Oh,
totally
right,
honest.
okay.
So there's a lot of people that obviously were waiting for it and got in early. There are some interesting responses on the parking lot. It seems that some of the officers can actually see it as they go along on their staff. So as it was quiet in a meeting, they did show me a couple of interesting responses, and then they've got to work out how to actually present that back to us at some stage.
Yeah, I've received quite a few interesting responses.
But I did say, with hindsight now, looking at some of the responses that have come in, some of those questions were worded. And I hate to say badly because I know everyone says that the entire thing was worded badly, but some of them were actually worded in a way that allows people to answer no to something that they probably would have answered yes to. And so yeah, I did say with hindsight we should have changed some of these questions, and they said hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But yeah, people are objecting to the residence parking permit when you'd think that would actually be a positive thing. But the fact is, I think they're looking at it as a way to say no to parking charges, and we're going to have to reflect that in the thing at the end, aren't we? So that unfortunately it's an executive decision.
Yeah, you said, yeah.
Yeah, but they're both executive decisions, but we're going to have to make sure that those views are properly analysed and reflected so that we're making the right decision.
Well, it was interesting seeing all the lists of various parking charges around the neighbourhood and elsewhere, and sort of making those comparisons.
Whilst we're doing this, can I just say that that this consultation is different to the one that we had in 2020. In 2020, parking charges were proposed, and there was levels of parking charges which were all put together before the consultation came out. So it was the done deal way of doing it. Like, here's all the charges. This is what we're going to do. You vote for it. Yeah. This time we've got none of that. We haven't put together any plan apart from just indicating the areas where the charges go in, but we haven't put any plan together. We've left it to see what the results are from the people, to see if they say, because some people may suggest that some areas would benefit from parking charges and some wouldn't. So we're doing it that way, which makes it a totally different consultation to the previous one, and not the same at all.
Right.
For the benefit.
Right, fine, thank you. So item 10.1 is planning applications not required for consultation, obtained. And 2, the information only in respect to planning applications which have been decided upon at district. There's the list, I'm sure you've all looked. Any comments on any of those? We've already mentioned about the
Sainsbury's.
Sainsbury's, yes. And 11 Albert Road, the caravan, you remember if they wanted to drop a caravan in, well, that's been withdrawn, isn't it? So they got consent for the previous one, which we all thought was rather large.
Shall I just say what I said earlier on Sainsbury's? That as ward councillor, I could have called it in for the committee. I could maybe have even got enough support down there to have it turned down. And had I done that, we would have definitely lost an appeal, and North Somerset would have ended up paying the costs for Sainsbury's, and that means all the council taxpayers of North Somerset would have been burdened with an extra cost, just to try and support something that the law doesn't support.
Yep. Right. So pretty well it now. Matters for the next meeting: relate planning applications and consultations, highway improvements to receive a report from the working party. Okay, and we'll add on the disabled parking bays as well. Yeah, and have a little discussion about that. And the next meeting happens to be on the 1st of May. So the meeting, I will close it therefore, unless you have any further comments to make.
Thank you very much.
And that's 9:15. So there we go.